Welcome to the Smart Hub. My name is Neil DeRoziers. I'm with Maize X Corporation. My background is manufacturing. I'm an application engineer. I've been with Maize X going on 30 years now. And in the last, since about 2007, I have been, I got Microsoft certified, and now I've been working with the MT Connect Institute. I'm Maize X representative at the MT Connect Institute at the Technical Advisory Group, and I'm the chairperson for the machine tool work group. So I work with all the other machine tool builders to add things to the MT Connect standard, which I'll talk about, and expand that standard to encompass more sectors of manufacturing or industry. So a few years back, when we got involved with that, somebody approached us and they said, wow, you guys make Maize X machines with Maize X machines. Said, you guys are really heavily promoting this MT Connect thing. It's not ours, but they say you're promoting it. Are you using it in your factory? And we weren't. And we said, you know what? We have to, because we always eat our own dog food at Maize X. So we started implementing MT Connect across our entire factory, and we said, we're going to call this initiative the iSmart Factory. Okay, so you got brilliant stuff, you got smart stuff, you got iSmart. And we started doing it. But there's a big difference in what we did. Is there are companies out there, they say we want to do Industry 4.0 or IoT, whichever flavor you're talking, and they say we want to do analytics, we want to do utilization or OEE, and they say this is great, we're going to put all the stuff together, and it's like, okay, get us the data. Well, we took the other approach. We said we have to look at all the use cases on the factory floor. We have to define what they are, and then how are we going to connect the equipment, and how are we going to do all that, and then we're going to meet these guys in the middle, because we're not in the software business right now. We don't do the analytics, we don't do the OEE, but we want to make sure that we can get from here to here done. Software companies don't want to do it. Nobody else wanted to do it, and we said, well, we're going to have to do this. And we collaborated with Cisco, we come up with some really cool solutions, and we like to think that we've now done enough with hardware, third-party hardware vendors, help them make their products MT Connect compliant. We're using them in the factory. We're doing all of this cool stuff, testing, and I'll tell you, not all of it works. Not all of it gives us what we want, but we're proving this stuff out where we're now identifying a roadmap. Okay, and everybody's using that roadmap term a lot, but we're identifying best case usage and ways of getting connected and doing it in a way that's open, that you're not using anything proprietary, and it will be secure. And that's really the basis of what our iSmart Factory is. So when I sit down with customers, and we do have a 2-day boot camp that we do at Maize X quarterly, and the next one's coming up October 17th and 18th. And when I sit down with these guys and I ask them, I said, hey, why are you here? What are you doing? They're like, oh, my boss told me to come here. It's like, okay. And they say, well, we want to do IoT. Well, what does that mean? And if you listen to the roundtable, the panel discussion we had this morning, the whole thing about why. Dave McPhail from Memex always asks why. He says, if you don't know why you're doing it, he says, don't start. He says, you got to have a why. I'm doing it because I need to improve utilization. Well, I'm doing it because I want to do preemptive diagnostics. I have a lot of problems with the machines. I want to be able to get that data and prevent all these problems we're having, right? And it makes it an easy why once you know that. So we talk to them, and a lot of them say, well, we got to think outside. I said, how are you going to do that? He says, we got to think outside the box. We've got to think outside the box. And I said, no, don't. I said, if there's anything I've learned, don't think outside the box. Get a whole new box, okay? Start thinking clean. And that's what we did, is we said, let's define all these use cases and make sure that today we can do what we want, and we don't know where technology is going in 10 years from now. We have no idea where it's going to be. IoT might shift. Okay, so she said, let's just start going down the road, and if we make a mistake and we go down the wrong turn, we're going to turn back and we're going to just redirect. And it's going to be okay. Why? It's disruptive. We're going to be the first to do it, and it's going to help our customer. We'll be the trusted advisor. Customers are going to love us for it. We're going to help customers get going. We're evangelists, and it's working out quite well. So if there's anything that I've learned by implementing this stuff in our factory, is that there's two constants. You go out and you answer that why question. You say, this is what I want to do. I said, okay, fine. You got to do these two things. Well, I want to do this. This is why I want to do MT Connect or IoT. Fine. You got to do these two things. No matter what you decide that why is, you're going to have to do two things. One is getting your machines or devices connected, and the second one is choosing a protocol. And I'm being real careful about using the term protocol, because MT Connect, you hear the term, it's a protocol, but it's really a data model. So we talk about MT Connect. If you think of, we have a Webster's Dictionary for Spanish, English, Japanese, MT Connect. Okay, it's a dictionary of terms. It's just like that. It's so much like that that every year we use new terms in custom implementations. We test stuff and we say, here's all our new terms. It's slang, right? And you say, I want to make some of these first-class words now in our dictionary. And then everybody looks at them and agrees that, yes, these words should be added to the dictionary. Next thing you know, it's part of the MT Connect standard. So MT Connect is a dictionary. It is a data model of common terms from manufacturing. We started out with machine tools because that's what everybody wanted to know. Everybody goes out with their sneaker net, right? You go out with your notepad and a pen, you write down the clocks off the machines, and you say, I'm getting so much utilization. You find out a week late, but that's okay. You still got it, and you were doing it fairly well. Now we want to do it real time. The only way we're going to do that is if every single device on the factory floor is reporting that data with the same data model, which means controller mode, execution state, rotary velocity, okay, feed hold, program stop. All of these terms are predefined in the dictionary. That doesn't mean we're only doing machine tools. We've got work groups. I'm the head of the machine tool work group, but we have robotics, we have metrology, we have parts data, you name it. There's work groups defining vocabulary for all these different sectors. We look at things such as cutting tools, and we said we want to define cutting tools. I want to be able to report from the machine or somewhere cutting tools in MT Connect. What is that going to look like? Are there any standards out there today that already do cutting tools? Yes. Are any of them good? Yes. Let's look at them. ISO 13399. All the cutting tool people use it. We adopted that, and we can transfer that data now using MT Connect. Metrology. There's a new, if you have CMMs right now at your factories, and you heard of DEMIS or PC DEMIS, all those guys got together, and now they have a new standard coming out, the QIF framework, which is going to be a whole new thing. We're adopting that. So now all of these standards, if they work and they make sense, we're adopting them. We're trying not to reinvent any wheels here, and MT Connect is making a lot of traction. So having this common vocabulary, I can come in with a dashboard. You can see the one I have up on the screen over there. It's the same one. That's Kentucky. I'm live to Kentucky, and that's only one department. I have 64 devices right now connected in our factory. This includes brand new machines that are Windows-based, old legacy grinders, mills, press brakes that I get one signal off of it, lasers, you name it, I'm getting everything MT Connect compliant. So there are devices now, black boxes that you can get that'll make it like an MT Connect adapter. You'll see it. It outputs the data. It allows you to capture that information. Somebody had a question? Yes. Correct. So the point he made is that is a representation of the raw data, right? That's not MT Connect there. That's a dashboard that consumes MT Connect, and I decided how I wanted to display it. I decided I wanted to make it color-coded, right? That's my representation of the data. So let's talk a little bit about that, and this should answer your question. So the way MT Connect works is you have this concept of an agent, and the agent is nothing more than a web service, and it outputs XML data, structured text, in the vocabulary that we've defined in our MT Connect dictionary. The way we get data to that is through what we call an adapter. Each OEM or builder of any device creates an MT Connect adapter, and all it does is output information. Timestamp, tag, and a value. So a name and a value. It's just key value pairs. And it outputs this data. The agent consumes it, and it's like a state engine. There's a buffer in there. It holds on to the information. And anytime any client dashboard or client software that wants to put it in a database and store it, wants to get that data, it does an HTTP request to the agent, and it starts pulling the data in. Now, if you're a geek and you want to know, you say, wow, I don't want to go out there and start doing a denial of service attack because I don't want to miss any data, you can actually have it streamed to you. You can actually subscribe and say, stream me the deltas. Only send me something when something changes. Sorry. Good question. Is that two pieces of hardware or is it software? What is it? Good question. Next slide, I'll get to that. So if you look at this screen, here's Google. I go to google.com, right? You go in there and you search whatever, Google, you go to the money or whatever it is, right? You're getting data back. You're getting a visual representation of some data. You don't know or care that there's 10,000 other people there at the same time hitting Google in that same page, as long as you get your data. That's what's really nice about MT Connect is it's outputting that format from a web service, which means multiple systems can consume that data simultaneously. I can have a maintenance dashboard, I can have a utilization or a status dashboard. I could have a data historian with no visual representation collecting that data, putting it into a database for data collection. If I were to go to that database, that machine directly, that MT Connect agent, that's what it looks like. Somewhere behind this fancy graph is raw data, and it's usually XML, structured text. You use it every day if you use Microsoft Office, right? DOCX. That's X stands for XML. Your file format's in an XML document. So it's nothing more than structured text. And what we do at Maize X is we define our machine tools. I have a linear axis, I have a rotary axis, I have a controller, and I put all the data tags that I want to output in there, and I define the machine. We're getting to the point where we're actually going to have kinematics in there, and like if you're a CAM system provider, you could walk into a company and consume all of that data and actually model the machines in your software. So specifications and kinematics are getting really going to be real popular in the future. Adapters can be hardware or software, as long as it outputs the data in the format needed. So in the case of our new controllers, they're Windows-based. I put a piece of Windows software in there, a software adapter, that gets data out of the CNC and it pushes it out over the Ethernet to that agent. What if I have a legacy piece of equipment? Doesn't have Windows or a PC on it. I get a little black box that I put on there, it gets electrical signals out of it, and that box has an Ethernet cable, and it acts like an adapter, and it pushes data out to an agent. So every device has to have an adapter. It can be hardware or software, as long as it comes out to on Ethernet as a certain key value set of pairs. Yeah, so good question. So is that adapter configurable? So in the case of something proprietary, if you buy a device from somebody and they say it's MT Connect compliant, you might not be able to configure it. We have worked with 2 different hardware providers, Moxa and Wago, and their I/O units, analog and digital I/O units, and you can actually go in there and program it, customize it, and say, this signal I want to come out and I want it to be this tag and I want it to have, you know, the frequency that you want and so on. So we do it now with a Moxa I/O unit. And I go in there and I say, when this bit goes on and that you know, digital signal goes on, that digital signal goes on, I want to say it's in cycle. When this one's on and that one's on, I want to say it's in feed hold, whatever it is, and you can customize it. Anybody's controls? Like PLCs? Yeah, so the PLC manufacturers haven't gotten into the market yet. They're looking at it. And they support so many different protocols, and it's all custom, right? Because you can go into the PLC and you put your own custom tags. What we're telling them is we want them to output those tags in that format. Just become an adapter. And they're not sure if they're believers yet in MT Connect. I wrote my own adapter, because you can download drivers, you know, for software development. I wrote my own, and I have a powder coat paint system with about 20 PLC, Allen Bradley PLCs, and I'm reading all the data and I'm outputting in MT Connect. Yeah, if there's not one available. But I know people are already talking about writing one and making it available for purchase. Yep. And we could help you with that if you needed to. I know people that would do it with you. Okay? So it can be hardware or software, and we output the data to an agent. Multiple systems can consume it using HTTP, and it outputs an XML document. MT Connect is read or read-only. So when I'm reading an agent, I can't push data back to the agent. I can't say, change this servo parameter and make the machine crash. I can't do that. What I could do is if I have a tool presetter over here and I'm measuring tools and that's MT Connect compliant, the machine can read the presetter's agent and the presetter can read the machine's agent, and they can make offsets. But I, as an OEM, have to sit there and watch it and say, oh, they want to make a change. Is it safe to do that? And I'll make the change. That's the area with read that you have to look at. Not too many people are doing read yet, but we have developed read interfaces with machines and robots and machines and bar feeders. Those have been done, and it's part of the standard. Actually, Maize X and LNS were the first to do it as a prototype. So in my mind, at our factory, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a pure implementation of one data model. Because if you want to do any type of monitoring or analytics, the data has to be normalized. 70% of any data scientist, if they want to go in there and say, I want to do analytics on some data in a factory, they have to normalize the data. And what that means is they have to say, I want to make sure that all the terms that I'm using in each one means the same thing. Controller mode, controller mode, controller mode, controller mode. Execution state, execution state. It's got to be the same thing. And then you also have to make sure that everything's time sensitive, right? It's synchronized. Do I have a timestamp on there? Timestamp, timestamp, because If I'm looking at, you know, Sunday morning in Japan versus Sunday morning in East Coast time, it's totally different, right? MT Connect uses universal time coordinate, Greenwich Mean Time or Zulu time. So the timestamps that you get are all UTC timestamp, and everything syncs up. And everything, you don't have to worry about it. You could have plants all over the world and they're all using the same exact clock. What's powerful about having this one data model above everything is twofold. One, I can have multiple systems hitting the system and understanding it simultaneously, but it also means that all of those software products that you're using are plug and play. You can put another one just like it. So if, you know, I always tease Dave, I said, if I'm using your product, which we are, and I said, in a year from now, if you're not being innovative and I want to do something and you say we're not going in that direction, I can buy somebody else's software, put it in place, get it up and running, consume the data from all the agents, and then shut yours off. I said, I don't need yours anymore. I can just keep going the way I was. That's powerful. Question? From what type of control? Right. So there would be a way to do that, right? You'd have to have some sort of software, like when you drop the file or you grab the files, you're converting them and you're putting them in MT Connect, or you put them in the database and maybe the system converts it, whatever. Sure. That would be custom software. What's nice about XML, if it's in XML format, then that's not a problem. That makes it a lot easier because XML is like a universal format, right? There's just about every single enterprise software can consume an XML document. And if you have a template file for it, what they call a schema, and you can say this is an MT Connect information file, that data, a stream file, it'll know how to import it, it'll know how to read it, and you can map all the data into data tables of your database. Okay? So it would be, I know I talked to you before, and you have data in a whole lot of different types of formats, and that's a really big problem. That's probably as bad as it gets, right? And you want to try and get it all into one format or into one system. You have to import it one way or another. That's probably the best, yep. So when I talk to customers today, these are the top 5 things that I'm dealing with right now with the customers. Now, granted, I'm dealing with a lot of bigger customers. I have some smaller ones, but a lot of these are for the bigger companies. But these are going to affect you very soon. So you want to collect data from the machine tools, but the only people giving you advice are the people who are writing the software. And what do they want to do? They want to sell you the software, and they want to make sure that you remain their customer, and they're going to sell you that black box, which only communicates with their software. Be careful about that, okay? But when I talked with them, with Memex, I said, I love your software, all our guys love it, we all want it. Does your board, your I/O board, does it speak MT Connect? They go, no, it's okay, but it works with our software. I says, if it doesn't speak MT Connect, I don't want it. He's like, I don't understand why, it'll work. I go, I want to have another piece of that software like mine. I might want to have a maintenance dashboard that reads the data from all the machines. If those 5 over there only talk to your software, I can't get the data. I don't want that. So I want it to be open and very flexible, and I can do whatever I want. So it's important that you get advice from other people and you understand what's happening. Viruses and malware on machines right now are becoming very popular. Why? I got Windows 95 and Windows 2000 systems on the factory floor. Yes, they're old. Yes, IT doesn't like them anymore, rightfully so, but they're not going anywhere. They're going to be around for another 20 years. Those machines are going to be running another 20 years from now. So how do you deal with it? Ransomware. Hacking and ransomware. Why is it all of a sudden in the last few months you're hearing about all these articles about people getting hacked, factories being hacked? I hear about it and it's not in articles. I hear it from customers who come to my training course. Why? Think about this. When you get hacked at home and you get ransomware, how much does that person usually get from you? They say, if you don't give us $500 or you give us $1,000, you know, we're going to leave your system hacked, right? It's going to shut down. You lose all your data. Take that now and look at a factory and one machine tool. 1 hour's worth of production time might be $100,000 to $200,000 loss for the company. Wow. I can hack the company maybe easier than somebody's home, and I can ask for that kind of money and get it. That's a lucrative market, and that's why all these hackers now are starting to look at factories and saying, man, we're going to hold these guys ransom and we're going to get a lot of money for it. So it's becoming very appealing for them. Intellectual property is becoming a big deal. I make a product, maybe I make a heart transplant, and I'm sending this over to, it's a very competitive part, let's say, and I'm going to send it to my first tier supplier, my customer, the people who are going to provide this for me. As soon as I send them that CAD model, I go, boy, I hope I hope that they're secure, and I hope nobody's got it, right? And what you probably don't see is somebody copies it to 2 thumb drives, and they go out in the factory, and they leave it somewhere, and somebody picks it up. I mean, you don't know. It's out in the wild. People want to start having control of their intellectual property, which means they want to be able to download this application or this software or file directly to the customer's machine. You make the part, and they want to remove it. So that's getting pretty cool. DFARS compliance. If you do DoD work, DFARS compliance is kind of like ISO 9000. You have certain rules that you have to follow and things you have to implement, policies and stuff. But this has to do with unclassified technical information on your factory floor. You have to be able to control that, and you have to have systems in place that keeps it tight. In other words, you want to get rid of the USB, you want to make sure that data is flowing and it's encrypted and nobody's getting access to it. So if I were to look today, we'll say yesterday because this is old now, 3 types of customers. I got a machine tool. They decided they wanted to make it MT Connect. This is what we did a few years back. And I have dashboards. Second type of customer wants to do something a little more elaborate. They say, I want to get a utilization or OEE software like Memex. They have their own database. They'll collect all the data for you, and it gives you all the reports, all the dashboarding, everything that you want, and it's really fun. Then you got that third type of customer that might be a really big company, right? And they have their own ERP systems. They don't want to buy somebody else's software, and they want to consume the data. All they need to do is have some sort of data collector that says, give me the data, HTTP get, and they get the data from the agents, and they put it in a database or push it up into the system. They're done. So remember this slide because we're going to modify this later on. So today, the standard for security in any company is what they call a layered approach. This is very simplistic look at it, but you have a network and you have a firewall. You have another network around that and a firewall, and another network and a firewall, and IT keeps it really segmented, okay? At some point, though, somebody in the shop network wants to communicate with that machine, they want to monitor it. And then this guy in the plant network wants to access it as well, and you got 2 of those layers now maybe connected. What somebody didn't realize is in the background, by today's standards, the golden standard for an OEM like Maize X to remote in and diagnose a problem on the machine is through a back door. They basically put a cellular connection in there, and that connection goes up to a cloud service. We log in, and we have a connection right to the machine. You can turn it on and off, but it's a back door into that system. As soon as you hook that to your company's network, that's now basically a back door, and that's a security risk, and IT doesn't want to see that. So those are going to basically have to get removed before you connect those to your network. So here's your IT department. They're saying, no, we're not going to connect those machines. And if you've answered the why question about why I want to connect it, I want to do IoT. Well, why? Well, I want to do utilization, OEE, and I have a maintenance problem I want to deal with. Great. So by doing that and saying you want to do IoT, you're admitting to the fact and you're confirming that the data from the factory floor is mission critical. I have to have that data. Without that data, I'm not doing IoT, right? And that's basically what we're all saying. Said, okay, fine, you agree to it? Yes. How do I get it? Because your IT department's saying, no, no, no. The door between the office and the factory, that's what we call the edge of our network. That's the northbound side is the internet, and we have a firewall here. Right here at the office door, we're going to give you your own little local area network, a virtual local area network. You do whatever you want on the factory. We'll help you and support you, but you're not connecting directly to our servers. This is kind of a stumbling block right now, and IT departments are going, we're not connecting the factory. We're saying, yes, the data is mission critical. That machine has to be a first-class citizen on your secure domain. That becomes a problem. How do we address that? We're now doing that at Maize X, and we're saying, okay, how are we going to address that? We got together with Cisco, and we collaborated, and we came up with a really cool solution. We put together a list of like 20 use cases, narrowed it down, and this is basically just a summary of it, but I want to have free flow of data, read-only from the device to my enterprise. I want to be able to solve all my use cases of what I want to do on the factory today, and then all those things 5 and 10 years down the road that I don't know that's going to come out yet, okay, cool technology, something new, I want to be able to support that as well without having to throw this away. So it has to be open, has to be flexible, and somewhat future-proof. So we came up with what we call the Maize X Smart Box. We sell machine tools. We don't sell IoT solutions. We're making an IoT solution. Why? Nobody wanted to cross that barrier. We're making an IT solution for OT. The IT has no idea what manufacturing engineers wanted off the factory floor or why, nor did they care. They're looking at it as a security thing, and they said, too much risk, we're not connecting. So we got together with Cisco, and we said, here's what we need to be able to do. So with this box, I'm able to do integration with the enterprise. I can do utilization or OEE maintenance, preemptive diagnostics. I can do sensors. I can do all kinds of stuff. And this leads into all kinds of crazy areas and risks and unknown areas. We've tested a lot of this stuff, and we come up with some really best practices. So we gain security through isolation. We put one machine. I could physically connect 1,000 machines to this box, okay? I prefer only one. Why? Because I'm doing more than just protecting my network. I want to protect this machine from that machine. If this machine gets a virus or a cold, okay, I don't want it propagating across all my machines. That old factory that we had over here, all those machines get sick if one of them gets sick, or could. I don't want to do that. I can't have that happen. So I isolate one or as few machines as I can. 10 maximum in our case. And the reason why is the amount of data that we push. We don't want to go over 10, and that's our estimate. So we put 1 to 10 machines there. What we did in there to make this so powerful and to get IT stamp of approval is we put a layer 3 managed switch into the box. So if you ever go by the IT department, you see all those racks in there with all the cables, those are switches. They're like a network hub. If you're familiar with the term hub, that's an old term, okay, but these are network switches. It's not like something you buy at Best Buy. This is managed, which means it's very smart, it's very powerful, and it's controlled by the IT department. You plug something into that box, okay, they know. Trust me. If you have a virus or something that goes in there and they're using some of the advanced features and software, they know. Okay, they pick up worms and they can detect stuff, and they can do deep packet inspection, they can do all kinds of really advanced stuff that you might not ever do, but they can. So we give the IT department full control over security. That's where it's supposed to be. If data doesn't flow through this box and you can't scan it, then it's considered a black box. It's an unknown quantity and it's a risk to your factory. It has to be managed. It has to be a smart device. How do we enable all of these use cases is really unique. We told Cisco we need to have data flowing through their MT Connect. Can you make your device MT Connect aware? It knows what Ethernet IP is. It knows what Profibus and all these other field bus protocols are. Can you make it understand MT Connect? What they did was they put a Linux PC in there, and they allow us to put applications in microservices, just like you heard of Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services. These are containers. These are application containers or the microservices. We can make these microservices or apps, and we can push them into our box, right into the Cisco gear. They call it their IIOT platform, which means I can put things in there, in that box, MT Connect. I can it'll spool up to 10 agents in that one app, in that microservice. It's very isolated, it's very secure, read-only from the northbound side. Secure file transfer. So if I want to sit here and I want to connect to that machine down on the factory floor and I want to say I want to download this G-code program to the machine, it gets encrypted, download, drops it on the hard drive. No more USB. What if I want to download a binary file or an executable file that's going to go to a guidance system on a missile or something like that? I can download it, it's encrypted, it goes down there, and it's safe. These are real powerful ideas and concepts. Transferring data. Yep. If you looked at it in real detail technically, we're downloading it to the box and the box is pushing it down to the machine. Okay? But what other apps do I want to put on there? Maybe your IT department, or maybe you have a specific application, a data converter or something that you want to have running there that's grabbing data when it drops onto a folder and you're grabbing it, converting it, and spitting it up the northbound side. That might be something you might want to do. The golden standard for the future for Maize X to connect to a customer is going to be through VPN. Why? It's secure, it's encrypted. If you're at home and you need your email, you VPN into the company and you get your email. Okay, that's the same reason why they do that. They want Maize X to communicate that way because your IT department knows when they're there. They can disable them when they want, and they can create a secure tunnel right to that box, which means when I'm on your network, I can't get anywhere but to what's behind the smart box. That's powerful because now they route you and they know exactly where you are and you can't go out and get on the company network. Another big issue is scalability. Let's say you buy one of those little black boxes from somebody and you start putting them in your factory and all these machines, and you have another plant across the country or across the globe, and you end up with like 500 to 1,000 of these little boxes. How do you manage that? How do you update those? You might forget where you put them. With this system, because it's a layer 3 managed switch, they actually have software that one guy can manage 140,000 units or something like that. And not only can he push firmware updates to them to make sure they're up to date, we can also manage the applications and deploy new applications and update the apps that are running on them. So from an IT standpoint, they have full command and control over it. From a manufacturing standpoint, you get all the data that you want, you get all the features and capabilities you want, everybody's happy, and they're managing security the way they need to. So now we take that 3 customer scenario that we had before, I add a smart box to it, and now I'm secure. I have my apps that allow me to do security, analytics, and monitoring, different things like that. And while I'm on this, and we talk about analytics or monitoring, sensors is becoming really big. So think about this. Everybody says go to the cloud, right? Why? Push it all to the cloud because it's unlimited processing, unlimited memory. And then all of a sudden we start getting into manufacturing and we realize that there's, oh my God, we're going sensor crazy. We're talking about high frequency data. If I had 50 machines or 100 machines and I'm doing vibration, temperature, and all these high frequency things, okay, on the machines, I try to transmit all that data up to the cloud. One, it's going to be a hell of a lot of data. I did about 1 terabyte worth of data like in a half an hour. Okay, it was crazy. 2, it's going to take up a lot of bandwidth. So think about, you know, March Madness comes around and everybody in the company starts streaming the basketball games. What happens? IT shuts off streaming because it was shutting down the network. There was too much bandwidth being used up. The pipe isn't big enough. Okay, we're getting to that point where A, you don't need all the data stored. What you want to do is you want to analyze it. You want to isolate it so it doesn't get out into your network. You run an app in the system that's doing analytics on the fly. It's watching the data. Maybe you output a sample of that data, a low-frequency sample every minute or something like that. And if something happens, a crash or something, you output a report in Empty Connect saying I had a spike in the vibration, the temperature, whatever it is, and you send out a report. An event happened, but you don't really need to store that data. So this allows you to do those type of things. Question? Yep. Right. Theoretically, yeah. In other words, if you want to put it in an industrial PC, or you want to drop down a Docker of SQL Server or MySQL, they have them. You could actually download and run them on there. The issue would be how big that thing would get, right? There's limited space on there. I would put a little industrial PC inside the box on the DIN rail, power it up, and it's on the machine network. Yeah. Yep, not a problem. And that's part of what you're asking for right there is that whole expandability. Can I grow? Can I do my own thing? Yes. We're already doing that now. Okay? If you use an intelligent edge device like this, something that's open, okay, it's a platform, you can expand on it, you can grow, and it's done the right way, so you have the security and the scalability that you need, you're going to be able to do everything you want to do today and the things that are going to happen coming in the future. These are things we're doing now and we're looking at now. Testing. If you don't, there's nothing that says that little black box isn't secure. It might meet the NIST requirement now, okay, but you might only get one feature out of it. You might get reading data. That's it. I'm not going to get edge compute. I'm not going to get analytics. I'm not going to get sensors. I might not get any of this other stuff. It might do 2 or 3 scenarios or use cases. I don't know. Depends on how expensive that is. But if you can't scan it, if the IT department can't scan it and they can't look at it and determine what it is and manage it, they don't want it on the network. So now you're back to getting an edge compute, a device like what we created with Cisco. So it's really important to understand what that device is from a security standpoint. They'll say, oh, it's secure, look at, there's nothing you can't get in and stuff like, well, whose firmware is it, and how do I know that the firmware isn't infested? You know, it has a virus or something or a worm in there. I have no idea. Can I scan it? That's a problem. So you may get a few different scenarios. So if you're thinking of doing MT Connect, you're thinking about going IoT, get yourself educated. We started on a lot of this today. We do have a 2-day boot camp, as I said. It's October 17th and 18th. We do it every quarter. We've been doing it for a few years now, and we're always updating the material with the latest specifications of MT Connect and the new technology. Consider security now. Don't blindly go and start connecting your machines and putting it on your company network, especially some of the smaller companies. I walk in, they said, yeah, we hooked everything up, and there's their server and everything right there, and it's all in the same network, and it's like, oh my God, you know, the machines are going to the internet. Okay, that's a thing of the past. Even though our controls are Windows-based, I was telling our Japanese counterparts, it's like, we're not putting machines on the network anymore, on the internet. I says, they're going to be isolated. I said, you're not going to be browsing. People aren't going to be browsing to the internet. We're not going to allow a $1.2 million machine tool to go down because this guy was searching, you know, reading the news for the day and got a virus or something. You can't have that happen. That's your asset. It's a very expensive asset. You can't have a 30-year-old machine infect this brand new $2 million cell that you just bought, right? And take it down because somebody put a thumb drive in over here. Can't have that happen. Questions? He's got plenty of questions, I know. Yes? No, the boot camp is in northern Kentucky, right by the Cincinnati airport. Yep, that's at the National Tech Center.
Is there a cost involved in that?
I think it's like $200 for the class per person, and that's mainly to cover all the food and everything. You leave fat and happy. And we do tour the factory. You do the first day, really, we go through what's MT Connect, what can I do with it, and really we try to identify, by the end of that first day, you should identify, this is what we're going to do because we're going to get the biggest bang for buck, and yes, that's a problem for us. And we try to identify those things so you understand what the benefit's going to be for you, and it's real. The second day is really mostly technical. We start talking about what's an adapter, what's an agent, how do they work, how do I test it, what's, you know, if you're IT, do I put them on a server, do I leave them on the machines? It's like Legos. You can really change the layout and how it works. So you learn best practices, and you get to take all the materials home with you. You actually get hands-on in the lab. Yes?
Are you guys doing any in-house analytics yet, or outsourcing that currently?
No. I will go so far as to tell you this. We've done streaming analytics on the edge and an edge compute. We've done digital signatures of a healthy machine, introduced an anomaly and detected the anomaly and everything. So like we were simulating, if you've ever seen palletized systems, a lot of times they'll dedicate one pallet, they'll put an artifact on it, and they'll bring that artifact into each machine once a month and measure it, and they're trying to see if the machine has changed, right? We're trying to do it without having that physical. So what we do is we run an air cycle, and we move it around, and we're working with some universities, and we're doing some really cool stuff right now. Stuff that you'll see in the future. Yep. All right, great. Thanks for coming.